First of all, a couple of weeks ago, who did Jesus meet at the well? Who? Man or woman? All right. This week, who's caught in the very act? Who? Who's going to pay for it? Takes two to tango, right? That's another homily and another issue. Remember, back in the day, women, no status, no equality, subject to so many abuses on so many levels, personally, societally, religiously, relationally. And these Pharisees today were not interested in any kind of new life coming from what happened there, any teachable moment. They were interested in using this woman as a chess piece, as a pawn, in order to get at Jesus because they didn't like his message. He was too much in the gray. He wasn't in their nice and neat, black and white vision of how things were supposed to go. And when we get that vision nice and neat, then we have to have a police force to defend it. And it's pretty clear in the law of Moses, when this stuff happens, the woman gets stoned. We wouldn't buy that today, would we? We've evolved in our anthropology, hopefully in our theology. We've got a ways to go in our ecclesiology, which means our understanding of church. But it's really, really important to see how when Jesus comes on the scene, it's not all over. It's about learning from whatever the mistakes are in life, whatever the transgressions are, growing from them, and then going forward in a new way. It's new. It's not one and done. Jesus came to usher in a whole new way of being. He wipes out Hammurabi's code. What was Hammurabi's code? Eye for an eye justice and mentality. He wipes that out and says, no, forgive. Forgive once, twice, 7 times, 70 times, 7 times. Make it a way of being. And not so that anything goes. You can't have no rules. It can't be anarchy, moral anarchy. But he says, be this way so that we can grow and learn and develop and change. Because there's always, always, always a reason behind why we as human beings do crazy things, stupid things, unhealthy things, unfair and unjust things, violent things, abusive things. But that gets messy. That gets too complicated. So let's just stay up on the surface where it's easier to judge who's in and who's out, who's okay and who's not. You with me? I don't know about you, but I wrestle with it myself. We all do to varying degrees. We all wrestle with judgmentalism. Now, that's different from making moral judgments. We all, every single day, make a judgment. Am I going to cross the street now or not? Am I going to pay this bill or not? Am I going to do this or that? Those are all judgments. We make them all along. But judgmentalism is different, where we condemn another person. And this is what he was trying to get across to the Pharisees and the scribes. Do you remember that famous quote from Pope Francis in July of 2013? When he was on the plane, and the question that was asked was about gay priests and something about their effectiveness to serve. And he came back with that famous quote, Who am I to judge? For some people, I think that was a welcome and refreshing and unexpected response and take. For others of us, I think it might have been like, what? What's he saying? What's he changing? Is it a free-for-all now? Anything goes? Oftentimes at both ends of the spectrum. But where in that messy mix, someplace in the middle, are we hearing what he is saying? Does it have any resonance in what we heard today? Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? Where are your accusers? And she says, no, they're not here. No one, sir. And then his line, neither do I condemn you, judge you. But then he doesn't end with that. That's why it's not a free-for-all. That's why the Pope's not this big lib. He simply places himself in the complexity of the situation and knows how complicated it is. And says, if I suspend judgment on a person, then maybe I can meet that person where he or she is, try to understand them more, understand the situation, and then together what? Go forward in deeper understanding. Helping people to look inside and say, what am I doing with my life? What kind of a trajectory am I on? Is this behavior healthy or unhealthy, life-giving or not? But having that kind of an interaction gives the person an opportunity for conversion, for change, to see things deeper. That's what happened to this woman. And then his next line, go and from now on, don't sin anymore. Well, we're all gonna miss the mark. Remember the word for sin, the whole notion, the Hebrew notion for sin, that bow and arrow, and it misses the target. We're all target misses. We're all sinners. We all mess up. But he's basically saying, look at this. How about 2 weeks ago, there was a woman at the well, not at the 9:30 Mass, but the 11:15 Mass. And she asked Jesus for some life-giving water. You got the answer? I want it. And instead of him saying, you know, go to the well here, 5 paces this way and 6 that way, in response to her question, I want some of your living water, he says, go call your husband. It's not the answer that one would expect him to say. What does that mean? You'd think he'd say, get a bucket and walk this way, and it's behind that shrub. Go get your husband. Well, I don't have a husband. That's right. In fact, you've had 5, and the guy you're with now isn't even your husband. What? How do you know this? Just from that very encounter with her, she is now able to look inside and say, what am I doing? What's going on in my life? Where's the trajectory? Who am I attracted to? Who's attracted to me? These are the opportunities for us to grow. And that's what happened in today's gospel with this woman. If she was in the black and white, nice, neat box, you mess up, you're one and done, what would be the end of the story? You ever read Shirley Jackson's The Lottery back in grammar school and high school? It's all over. The stoning, let the stoning begin. Or The Kite Runner. Did you ever read The Kite Runner? Remember that? In the middle, intermission for the soccer game. They buried the couple and stoned them. That's the outcome of that mentality. With Jesus, there's always the opportunity for redemption, another chance to change, to grow, and to develop. You know who I think models this so well, at least in my life? And it wasn't perfect in the Unni household, I'm telling you right now. But my parents, our parents, you guys as moms and dads. And then I think it's especially true with grandparents on so many levels. Huh? So forgiving. There's more than another chance. There might be the correction. We might get in trouble. We might get yelled at. We might get grounded. We might have something taken away. But we try to learn from this. But we're still loved, huh? I said last week, and I think I horrified the college students at the 6 o'clock Mass, when I was young, when we got in trouble, we used to get the strap, Now, this wasn't child abuse. Don't call DSS, whatever it's called now, a DFC. This, but it was different. It's a little different from now, right? And where am I going with this? Oh, afterwards, I just went back 45 years ago. No, I'm kidding. Buddy, come on up. But afterwards, my father would always say, he'd come back up to the room, and then I'd put out some tears, because if I didn't cry, then, I thought, oh, he might think that it's not a, who are you looking for? Who's this guy? Oh, come on up. You got to put out a few tears, but then you don't want too many to go out, because he'd always say something like, and knock off those tears, or I'll give you something what? To really cry. A little confusing. But anyway, even more confusing, he'd come up, and he'd lay down on the bed, and he would say, do you know why I did that? Why? Oh, you've heard this before, huh? Because I love you, huh? So a little bit of therapy helps us out, but you know what mostly helps it out? Is knowing that we are loved. And they evolved from that. Maybe that's all that they knew. How did they grow up? And we change, hopefully, and we grow generationally. But sometimes when we get in trouble and we find ourselves off track, it's about recognizing, I got to get back on track. There's a new opportunity to grow there. Jesus is always about that. Mob psychology is only built on shared enmity. And again, I'm prone to it. Look what happened a couple of months ago. Remember when I commented on that little video clip that I saw about the Covington Catholic kids and all the hats and all this kind of stuff? I had what I saw. Who knew there was a much bigger story? I still stand a little bit by my own gut stuff with some things. I'm putting that right out there. But I jumped to what? Like half the country, if not most of the country, huh? I'm prone to it. We all are, to varying degrees. We make these judgments. It's been around forever, mob psychology. In the first century, it was in the Roman Colosseums, right? They'd bring everybody in, thumbs up, thumbs down. The Spanish Inquisition in the 16th century. The Salem witch hunts right here in our own country in the 1690s. In the 60s down south with lynchings. I think there are over 1,600 documented lynchings of African American people, citizens of this country. The book Just Mercies talks all about this. Those marches through Selma when the police dogs were let loose. Or even in 2017, just in Charlottesville, mob mentality. It's not rational. It condemns. It kills. Those Pharisees and scribes, they wrestled with it, maybe, but they wanted to be clear, black and white. They were the faith police. By the way, I read in a commentary that the same law that said you stone a woman for adultery also said that parents had to take their rebellious son to the city gates to be executed if that son was rebellious. Comes in a little tipsy some night after night after night. Think about it. Are you and I to be forever defined by our worst thoughts, words, or actions in life? Think about that right now. That's why confession is supposed to be about mercy. The church is supposed to be about mercy. I think about it with marriages. Sometimes marriages don't work out. And yes, I'm even going to say this, maybe sometimes we might even be the one at fault. Or maybe not. Or maybe it's just a bad mix. Whatever it is that happened, is there the opportunity to be healed, brought back into the fold? Pope Francis, once again, stop, you priests. Stop making it so difficult for people to go through the annulment process. Stop judging. Again, he's not saying, forget it, there's no rules, no guidelines, no nothing, but stop making it so difficult. Are we to be defined forever by the toughest and worst times in our own lives? How can we learn? How can we heal and go forward? These Pharisees and scribes were all about sustaining vengeance. How does that work in your family or mine? When that kid does something, and now they're no longer part of the family or in the household, or that parent, or that spouse. Are you and I about sustaining vengeance, or about healing and reconciling, as challenging and complex as that is? Isaiah says these beautiful, beautiful words. Remember not the events of the past. How many of us, don't put your hands up, but how many of us are stuck with something from the past that we have not been able to let go of? I would say almost every hand could go up in this place. It could be a big thing, it could be a small thing. Isaiah says, consider not those things of long ago. See, I'm doing something new. Now it springs forth. Jesus models it. I love this line. Don't you perceive it? What do we say today? Don't you what? Get it? Don't you get it? It's all the opportunity to grow. Judgment of others can be a weapon of destruction, where we create a world that is too harsh for fallible people who will miss the mark, whose marriages will not always be stellar, who will get caught off the bag sometime, too far away from first base, not close enough to second, and get picked off and called out. These are opportunities to learn. What's the relationship about? What am I looking for? How is it going? Jesus does not have the laissez-faire attitude, but he does not focus on past transgressions. He concentrates on the potential for new life and change. Don't we get it? So today I leave us with two things. Number one, where are you and I holding some judgment? And we might be right, by the way. I'm just putting that out there. You might be right. Where are we holding some judgment? And where is today an opportunity for us to call on the grace of the Spirit, to soften the heart, and to show some mercy? Who knows why it happened? At this point, who cares? How do we go forward? Number two, like Paul, where can we let go of some narrow, condemning, black and white thinking, especially with others whose lives are messy and gray, and enter into the complexity of their situation instead of judging them? See, I'm doing something new. Don't you get it?